Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and my partner in crime here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Today, Karen Reed retrial, day 24. The defense put on their first expert witness. And today was a doozy. It got a lot of people sleeping, but it was a lot of back and forth between the prosecutor and the defense. And then we heard early on in the morning, Lifeguard Bev immediately striking down a motion to drop all charges. We knew that that was going to happen, but it happened so quickly. It happened before the prosecutor made it back to the table, Ed. He was actually walking back when she said, I'm going to deny this. Ed, your thoughts on day 24? I know you had to go through it with everybody else.
Well, there was a snowball chance in hell of getting the case dropped. So we all knew that it wasn't going to happen with Lifeguard Bev. But I will tell you from what I saw today, everybody should see the difference now between a real forensic expert and what we've seen the last couple of witnesses for the prosecution. In addition, everybody should now see that, if you haven't already known this, Hank is a bully and a punk. Okay, there was no reason for Brennan to go off the way he did today against this witness. Okay, and he shot himself in the foot, to be quite honest with you. He attacked the credibility of his own experts, because the defense expert was relying on his witnesses' data.
Yeah. That
okay.
was,
I mean, it's like, did he not know what he was doing? Did he not see this? Okay. And he just kept going at him. He said, it's your witnesses' data.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he was like, well, you see the dangers of, hey, dude, you should have known this as a prosecutor and a defense attorney, that when your expert witness puts out a report, other expert witnesses are going to review it. And if you're saying that that report produced by your expert witness didn't have enough data in it for the defense expert to review it, then shame on you, and you shouldn't have used that report, because any expert worth their salt knows that when you conduct this type of analysis, whether it's data analysis or reconstruction, when you produce your report, if you're doing all kinds of analysis like that, you put everything you do there. You put all your steps, your protocols, your procedures, you put all your findings, you list all the data so somebody else can review it and know exactly what you did. Okay. If they didn't do that, and they purposely didn't do that, then shame on them, and you shouldn't have produced that report and given it over in discovery.
Message agreed. DNS disposal gets the comment of the live stream right out of the gate. He or she says he debunked his own expert's credibility. And yeah, we have a ton to talk about, a lot to unpack here tonight. So Ed and I have a special guest for you. One of our good friends, retired first grade detective from auto crime in the NYPD, Tommy, is going to break down the infotainment system. He's an expert in a lot of different things as it pertains to infotainment systems. He's testified at a ton of trials. He's going to give you his credentials. And when we bring him on, his credentials are real. His background is real. This is not made up, folks, for the audience. Go ahead, Ed, with your thoughts.
I just want to switch gears a little bit and lighten it up a little bit to give you a story that occurred to me today. So I'm down at my Jersey Shore house, right? And so those of you in the chat, I know there's a few of you down here in the Long Beach Island area near me, right here. You know what kind of gardens we have. We call it the Jersey Garden. We don't grow grass down here. We have stones in our yards, right? All kinds of stones. And every couple of years, you have to get new stone or more stone to put in and backfill the areas of your yard, right? So I go with my dad, my 90-year-old dad, and we go down to a stone place here in New Jersey by Tuckerton, and I have like 4 5-gallon buckets that I'm going to fill up with the stone because I only need a little amount of stone to backfill. And so I go down with the buckets in my truck, and I bring my shovel, and I go into the store before I go drive my truck into the yard to pick up the stone, because I got to go in there, talk to the people and pay, and then go in and get what I need, right? So as I go to the front counter, this woman takes a personal phone call as I approach the counter, and she sees me standing there, and she's talking to what must be her child about dinner and reheating crabs from the day before or whatever, and she's like having this like 5-minute conversation as I'm waiting there. So I'm getting a little antsy, because I kind of thought it was unprofessional to take a personal phone call like that and then to hear this conversation. Anyhow, she finally gets off the phone, and I tell her what I'm there for. And then, I need to go get 4 5-gallon buckets worth of 3/4 river rock. And then she goes, oh, $20. So I paid her $20. She goes, oh, there's shovels down there. I said, no worries. I have my own shovel. And she goes, really? You're the first one that I've ever heard, brought their own shovel. I said, yeah, I like to be prepared. And she goes, what, like for work? I said, yeah. She goes, well, what do you do for a living? And then I told her, well, then I have to use the shovel, and you seem like a nice person, so I don't think you really want to do that.
Oh, boy.
And then I walked out. I walked out, and I watched her jaw drop when I said it. And I walked out laughing to myself all the way back to the car. And I know she must be watching me on security cameras now.
Unbelievable, Ed. Hey, thank you for lighting up the load. But we want to get back into this Karen Reed retrial day 24. That's funny, Ed. And your dad's just sitting there with his arms folded, like, let's move this on, son. I want to get home. Let's go. When's my lunch? All right. I want to play this little piece, and then we got our expert or infotainment expert coming on. Please, with all your questions, hold your questions to the end of the show. At the last 15 minutes, we're going to take your questions. But, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll periodically scan through the questions. Let's listen to an overview of day 24 in the Karen Reed retrial, the defense first day.
Tonight, a new phase begins as the defense calls its first witness.
Neither of the events that occurred on that date were triggered by a collision.
A digital forensics expert takes the stand as the defense tries to cast doubt on prior conclusions involving Karen Reed's car. Plus,
the Commonwealth's case fails miserably. The evidence of collision is abundant.
The motion is denied.
The judge rejects the defense's push to dismiss the case. We delve deeper into that, as well as the prosecution's bid to block testimony from witnesses linked to Michael Proctor. Canton Confidential.
I want to just make a comment real quick without putting us back on, because I want to continue with this little piece here. But did anybody in the chat, by a show of hands, anybody in the chat watch this live when Hank Brennan was walking away from the podium? This was the motion to dismiss all charges. When he was walking away from that podium, as Ed and I said, he didn't even get close to sitting down or his table. Put a yes or a 1 in the chat if you saw this. She immediately gave that ruling. It was like lightning speed on this.
Conclusions involving Karen Reed's car. Plus,
the Commonwealth case fails miserably. The evidence of collision is abundant.
The motion is denied.
The judge rejects the defense's push to dismiss the case. We delve deeper into that, as well as the prosecution's bid to block testimony from witnesses linked to Michael Proctor. Canton Confidential. The Karen Reed murder trial starts right now.
The Karen Reed retrial is now in the hands of her defense team, but before the defense called its first witness, they moved to dismiss all of the charges. Good evening, everyone. I'm Glenn Jones. JC is off tonight. This is a typical motion at this point in a trial, but typical, it doesn't always rule the day in this case. No one knows that better than Melanie Mendez. She joins us live outside Norfolk Superior Court to explain the day's developments. Good evening, Mel.
Good evening, Glenn. You're exactly right. I'm glad you mentioned that, because here's the thing. It is typical in a trial that at this point in the trial, the defense would file a motion to have the charges dismissed. And that's exactly what we saw Alan Jackson do earlier today, essentially arguing that the Commonwealth hadn't met its burden of proof, saying that they didn't offer any evidence that an actual collision happened between Reed's SUV and John O'Keefe, and arguing, therefore, the charges against her should be dismissed. The prosecution, Hank Brennan, though, on the other hand, saying, listen, they were able to prove that she was intoxicated, arguing that her conduct that night, and this is a direct quote, her conduct that night created a reasonable, plain and strong likelihood of death. Now, to your point, Glenn, that this was very much expected. It took Judge Beverly Cannoni literally 3 seconds from the moment those arguments ended to her dismissing the motion, denying the motion, and then we moved forward with testimony. Here's what happened. The defense's first witness called digital forensics expert and mechanical engineer Matthew Dagra in accident reconstruction. Dagra analyzed a report by prosecution witness Shannon Burgess and Dr.Welcher on data from Reed's Lexus SUV on the night she allegedly hit and killed O'Keefe. He talked about his analysis of the text stream trigger events in the data records and aligning the clocks of the Lexus and John O'Keefe's phone. Dagra not saying the data the prosecution witnesses presented is wrong, just saying there are other ways of formulating the science that could give slightly different answers.
I don't think I've ever said it's not accurate. I said that in the exemplar testing, they documented this behavior of a 3-second delay. And that needs to be accounted for.
The defense raising questions of reasonable doubt. Prosecution pointing out Dagra didn't do any of his own testing, only used the numbers and data in the aperture reports. He was asked by the defense if any trigger events were set off by a collision with John O'Keefe. He said no.
And so your role is to look at other people's work and offer opinions and criticisms, basically.
And provide some clarity to the work, but generally, yes.
He was then asked by the defense about trigger events.
Neither of the events that occurred on that date were triggered by a collision.
Prosecution followed up with,
So when you were saying it wasn't triggered by a collision, it's never going to be triggered by a collision ever on text stream data.
Not the collision in and of itself, correct?
similar to what we saw during the defense's cross of Dr.Welcher, today the prosecution's cross of Dagra went down a familiar path.
Had Aperture done testing with a separate vehicle, then we could establish, is the 3 seconds the same, or is it unique?
Dagra commenting on the method used by the prosecution's witnesses, calling it highly unorthodox.
This is a very unique analysis. This is not something I've ever even seen. I've never seen the approach taken here in this analysis by Aperture. That's what I meant by this.
The exchange is getting heated.
You're not testifying or offering an opinion that there was no collision with this car that night, are you?
No.
Because if you were implying that or suggesting that or insinuating that, that would be misleading, wouldn't it?
It's not sustained.
Brennan at one point questioning the expert's level of knowledge.
Are you sure you know a lot about text stream data?
Yes. Sustained.
Have you ever taken any class or study? Have you ever attended any seminars? Have you ever testified about variances in mobile forensics before you testified in this court today?
No.
Here was Jackson on redirect.
Were you being truthful about your credentials?
Yes.
Have you ever lied about your credentials?
No.
An apparent reference to Shannon Burgess, who was caught with inaccuracies on his resume while on the stand last week.
On your direct examination.
All right, now one more interesting bit from court today. Right before things ended in the courthouse, Judge Beverly Cannoni called in a witness who'd been waiting to testify all day long. Her name is Kelly Dever. Essentially, we know that she'd been waiting to testify. She didn't get the chance today, but the judge asked her to come back on Monday morning, first thing to testify. Here's what we know about Kelly Dever, and it's not much. She is a Boston police officer. She's a former Canton police officer, and she did not testify in the first trial. So it's really anyone's guess what direction this could go. And we asked Karen Reed on her way out of court whether she could give us any insight as to where that testimony might take us in this case. And she said, you have to wait until Monday to see. Glenn, back to you.
Another interesting character.
Ed, let me ask you about that witness there. what's your thoughts on that? Former Canton cop, BPD. Where do you think that the defense is going with this one? Never heard from him before. Trial 1. Your thoughts, Ed, and then let's bring Tommy in.
And she's going to be one of the second witness in this trial. So, wow, maybe there's a bombshell coming. Maybe the defense team is about to drop a bomb on these people.
Let me throw something else at you, Ed, here while we're spitballing a little bit here. Why is the defense being a little iffy about calling Trooper Proctor? Why wouldn't they want to just grab him and pull him in? Why are they shooting just? I'm playing devil's advocate here with you, Ed.
Well, it seems like a big game of chicken. It seems like a big game of chicken between the prosecutor and the defense team as to who's going to call Proctor first. Okay, so we know in the defense, in the prosecutor's case in chief, they didn't call him, right? And so what the defense team was trying to do today during this voir dire at the end of the trial was, at the end of the day's testimony, was to establish the text messages in the group about how they're going to hang this on her, and how Albert is going to be taken care of because he's a Boston cop, all these things through his friends that he's known for 30 years in that text group. And so they were going to try to use his friends, and instead of having to call Proctor. Now, obviously, I don't think Judge Bev is going to let them do it, because that's just the nature of who lifeguard Bev is. She's just not going to allow it. But the prosecutor was saying, well, that really needs to come from Proctor, so they need to call Proctor. Okay. Well, and then it's funny because the defense shot back, I'm happy to see that the prosecutor is trying to help our defense case, but we pick our own witnesses. Thank you very much. Okay. Which was a great comeback. Yeah. Also, it's a double-edged sword. Okay. Because what ends up happening is, if the defense calls Proctor as a witness, and he pleads the fifth, or he may have to turn into a hostile witness. Whereas if the prosecutor gets to cross-examine him, he could lead the witness in the cross-examination. Okay, because he's not his witness. Okay, so it's an interesting game that they're playing here. I've never quite seen it though, but it is very interesting, all the dynamics here with this one witness.
There's a lot of things that we haven't seen here in our whole entire careers.
First of all, this case shouldn't even be in the court. Let's start from the beginning. Okay. So,
did you see the one comment, Ed, while we were showing that piece? One of our friends said, "DutyRon, you look tired tonight." Yeah, well, I worked 9.5 hours today at job number 1. I went out with the missus tonight for dinner for date night, and now I'm running down into the studio for a 9 o'clock hour soiree. So yeah, I'm tired. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah, you and me both, pal.
I got the bags under my eyes, and all good. It's all good. I like this one. I want to play it because it's labeled a real expert versus an expert who lies about his education. And this is courtesy of Microdots. Please go over and subscribe and check out his content. And we're going to play this real quick for you guys, because I think you will get some enjoyment out of this. So here's the comparison: a real expert versus a liar.
I began my academic career. I got an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I then went on and got a master's degree also in mechanical engineering from the same school.
Your professional credentials are absolutely truthful, right?
Yes, they should be.
Bullshit.
And then when I came out of school, I immediately started working for Delta V Forensic Engineering. In order to get a professional engineer license, I then needed to acquire 4 additional years of work directly under the supervision of another licensed engineer. So then I completed that phase.
You understand what's meant by the term ethics, right? Generally?
Yes, yes.
in order to maintain my license, I have to complete continuing education every year in the field that I practice.
And simple ethics mandate that one is truthful about their professional credentials, correct?
Correct.
Taking formal classes counts for continuing education, but also some of the other work that I do, like publishing research in peer-reviewed journals, also counts as continuing education.
Were you notified within the last 72 hours that someone from the defense accessed your publicly available or viewed your publicly available LinkedIn account?
No, I was not aware.
I attend, there's a couple of regular conferences in our industry specifically tailored to EDRs as a whole for passenger vehicles and heavy trucks. I'm a regular attendee of those. I'm also a regular speaker at most of those. And I'm usually presenting some of the new research that we have for that year.
Do you know whether anyone from Aperture directed someone within Aperture to disable your LinkedIn account within the last 72 hours?
No, I'm not.
Have you attended events that deal with data, event data recording systems, and event data recording system extraction?
Yes.
And you do not hold a BS in a Bachelor of Science in Applied Mathematics and Scientific Computation from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, do you?
I do not.
Yes, he does. He holds a bullshit degree from the university.
What about vehicle crash reconstruction?
Yes.
In business administration. So there are two documents about your credentials that are inaccurate, correct?
Yes, they have errors. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
What about electronic control module imaging?
Yes.
What about electronic control model analysis?
Yes.
Have those back,
Sure.
sir?
Yep, both.
Yes.
Yes. There you go.
Thank you.
I like to say the things that people are thinking in the chat. That's what I like to do. And I think that bachelor's degree that he claimed he had is the BS is a good abbreviation for bullshit. And that's what he was, full of shit.
Applying automotive EDR data to traffic reconstruction.
Yes.
These are samples of the type of continuing education that you routinely engage in, correct?
All that's accurate.
Isn't it either you have a Bachelor of Science degree or you don't?
You talked about additional licenses and professional registrations. You're a licensed professional engineer, correct?
That's correct.
In North Carolina?
Correct.
You're also a certified IPC specialist?
Yes.
Are you aware that there's no degree at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, called the Bachelor of General Science in Mathematics and Business Administration?
The teaching roles that you've held within organizations, have you been an instructor concerning accessing and interpreting heavy vehicle data event recorders?
I am currently an instructor of that course, which is offered through the Society of Automotive Engineers.
As a matter of fact, next week, are you going someplace to teach?
I am. I will be in Wisconsin next week teaching that very course.
If I did the math correctly, sir, you've been pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree for 17 years, correct?
That is correct.
Are you a member of any subcommittees?
Yes.
Are you also a member of the National Association of Professional Reconstruction Specialists?
Yes.
Have you also authored peer-reviewed articles?
Yes.
Have any of your peer-reviewed articles that you've either authored or co-authored specifically focused on Toyota vehicles?
Yes.
In January 2025, did you co-author a publication entitled Simulation of Vehicle Speed Sensor Data for Use in Heavy Vehicle Event Data Recording?
Yes.
So there you go, courtesy of Microdots. Thank you for that. Ed, your thoughts on the defense's first expert witness. Now, you're a forensic expert, but again, you're not an expert in this field. But what was your take on this very first witness that they called, Matthew Dagra?
I thought he was a good witness. I thought he was truly what we expect from subject matter experts, unlike what we've seen with the doctor and what we just witnessed in Shannon with one N. But he came out and he said, okay, here's what I see. This is what they did. Here's some mistakes I found. He highlighted all of the mistakes. Okay. And to show that you really can't rely on what these people were doing. And what they did, again, shows a confirmational bias with their analysis is they went to the most extreme time frame of what could be. And that was pushing it past the last action of John O'Keefe manually shutting down his phone. That's what they did. That's what the Aperture team did. All right. And, that was the purpose of all of that, redoing the numbers and all of that to make the allegation or the allege that he did that before their alleged accident with him, which incapacitated him. Right. That's what they were trying to do with these time frames. Okay. And he highlighted all of that. Right. And then, like he said, he found errors and he put them up there. And that was why it was like blowing my mind that Brennan was going after him, because he found these errors. And he showed that of these 30 events there, looked at in the best light, maybe 20 of them were where the alleged accident would have been before the event where Officer John O'Keefe manually closes his phone or shuts his phone or locks his phone.
Right.
Okay. And so it's amazing how that came out. Good for the defense, I think, overall. And it made Brennan look foolish. It made Brennan's witnesses look incompetent. Besides lying, now we know that lied, but now it's also incompetent as well.
Yeah, I think that, and that's why I asked you for your professional opinion here, because a lot of people, a lot of lay people who don't know anything about this type of technology, it got a little boring because it was like you said, it was Brennan was going back and forth, and he was almost like a kid that got his candy taken away from him. He was, raising his voice. He was becoming overly unprofessional,
and there was no need for it. There was no need for it whatsoever. I mean, because this was a compliant witness. He wasn't argumentative. He wasn't deflecting. He wasn't giving word salads.
Complete opposite from Dr. Welcher.
Yes. When he could answer with a yes or no, he answered with a yes or no. Okay.
I want to add into my the tired look comment. Not that I'm offended by it, but I do look tired at certain times. But I also am still fighting cancer. So that on top of everything, it does make me look a little tired. But yeah, let's get
somebody
back.
Saying something?
No, just one time. It was just one time. But anyways, it's fine. Let's play this little piece because it shows Karen Reed again outside of court, but this time in the morning instead of the afternoon. Like this afternoon, she really didn't say much, but she did say something. But we always play the morning, the afternoon after they're done, late afternoon. Let's play this morning clip and see what she has to say. Let's go to the videotape.
Karen Reed murder trial. WBZ was there for Reed's personal moment with supporters outside the courtroom. And as WBZ's Christina Rex shows us, inside, defense attorneys called a card data expert to the stand.
Well, we hope he cleared it up a little bit. Karen Reed on her team's first witness. He didn't do any new analysis. He just tried to shed some light on what the Commonwealth did. On the first day of the defense's case, card data expert Matthew Dagra was the only witness to take the stand, and he reflected on a contested piece of evidence. Which happened first, Karen Reed's car going in reverse or John O'Keefe manually locking his phone for the final time?
The phone lock event always occurs after the end of the event.
I think that was important, Ed, that he really highlighted that because, that's something that really got Hank twisted. but it was important there. And he goes on a little bit more in this piece. So let's listen. Tommy is back. He was having some technical difficulties. Hopefully he got it worked out. I see his headset is off. I'm sure he had some computer issues, but we're going to get him in right after this.
But after updated expert reports from the state, Dagra says there's a 10% chance the phone could have locked before the alleged crash. Why do the seconds matter?
If the timeline of John closing his phone happened after that, then theoretically the Commonwealth's theory kind of dissipates, because how can both things be true?
Then a tense cross-examination with prosecutor Hank Brennan, who accused the witness of only criticizing his experts instead of doing his own research.
Did you ever download or obtain data in this case?
No.
Did you ever test Miss Reed's car?
No.
Did you ever do any actual testing in this case?
No.
With the start of her team's case,
There was people that thought that Hank Brennan was winning there, Ed, but he in fact really wasn't. And you really broke it down so great just before this. He was not winning. He was losing.
a change in Karen Reed, the defendant coming to greet her supporters outside the courthouse during a break from testimony.
Day, and I can't even tell you what it does to my spirits every day.
But inside court, more tension as defense called Jonathan Diamandis to the stand without the jury present. He is a lifelong friend of former trooper Michael Proctor.
It looks to be a text chain with a group of my friends that I grew up with.
Defense attorneys want him to testify.
He's a whack job. See you.
So that Proctor's offensive text can become.
By the way, he used the C word. Yes, he did. And if you check out our video on Proctor, we uploaded that 2 nights ago on a premiere. So it's like almost looks like a live stream, but we exclusively uploaded his full text stream and him reading it out, unedited, nothing bleeped. We let you guys hear him call Karen Reed all these vile words and terms that he used, because I thought it was important for you to see how he was treating her on the night of this murder, and B, how rude and how vicious. And this wasn't his first rodeo. This isn't the first perpetrator that he, or alleged perpetrator that he placed under arrest, that he disrespected like that. He did that too easy, and he shared it with his friends. He shared personal pictures. Not personal. He shared pictures of her mugshot with her friend, maybe even this guy that was in court. Just goes to show you what kind of a real piece of work this guy was. Go ahead.
Ron. Yeah. Another thing too, I just want to point out the hypocrisy of what's going on here. Okay. Because have you ever heard of a case where the lead assigned investigator doesn't testify to all the work they did?
Never.
Okay. So they managed to use Sergeant Yuri to come and bring in all the work that Proctor did in his testimony.
Right.
Lifeguard Bev allowed that, right, when he was available and should have been brought in to testify to his reports, the work that he did, and clarify the reasons why he did things. Okay. But so the prosecutor doesn't call him, and was given that leeway by Lifeguard Bev to allow Yuri to testify to all the work that Proctor did. So now, isn't that the height of hypocrisy now for Brennan to turn around and say, oh, you can't use this witness to bring in the text that he was involved in, because he was a member of that text chat group. Okay. You can't use him to bring in these texts. You need to bring in Proctor.
Unbelievable. Let's let the rest of this play, and then Tommy's coming on. Ed, you're going to take over at that point. We're going to ask questions. We're going to first want to hear this is going to be like a little mini voir dire. We want to hear about his background, his expertise. Ed, you'll be like the defense attorney, and Tommy will be coming on as your expert witness. All right.
Want him to testify.
He's a whack job. See you.
So that Proctor's offensive text can become evidence without Proctor ever taking the stand.
Why don't you want to call Michael Proctor?
Walk and talk, walk and talk. That's not Karen's call. It's her attorney's call.
And Monday morning, a new witness will take the stand as the defense's case continues. One of those witnesses we expect to see, depending on the judge's ruling.
All right, so we'll let that go. A little confusing. It looked like they were going to be recalling back his friend, the gentleman that was up on the stand. It looked like he was going to be coming back. That was the guy who called him Chip, right? We found out that his nickname is Chip. Disgraced former fire trooper Michael Proctor. And now the female cop coming back in. I didn't see that part, Ed.
And he was a Canton cop first.
Canton, yeah.
At the time of this incident.
Right.
Okay, so what does she know? Dun, dun, dun.
Explosive. Monday's going to be, I'm off from work Monday, so we might even be able to cover this thing live. All right. Tommy Burke, retired NYPD first grade detective, auto crime expert, retired. What did he say he did? 30 some odd years?
He came on with me. We came out of the same academy class.
He's a beast. Tommy, welcome back. Everybody loves you.
No relation to that other Burke.
Hey, I apologize to everybody. My computer crashed. First my picture went, and then when I was signing back on, the whole thing went on me. So I'm using a different computer in a different room. But I'm back.
Hey, Tom, tell everybody about yourself.
All right. I did 39 years and 2 weeks with NYPD. 30 of those years I was in the auto crime division. 17 of those years in auto crime, I taught the auto crime school, which is a college accredited course. I got to the age where they didn't want you anymore, so they kicked you out. And I now teach at a college. I'm an adjunct professor at John Jay College and SUNY Old Westbury.
And what do you teach over there, Tom?
Oh, you name it, I teach it. I teach a bunch of courses.
Okay.
I teach a diversity course. I do a criminal investigation course. I talk a lot about motor vehicle investigations in that course. And sociology I teach. I teach whatever anybody else doesn't want, I teach. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you tell them about your career in the auto crime unit and all the training and certifications that you've obtained?
God, you name it, I got certified in almost anything they offered. I was the type of guy that would hop on any type of training that they offered. And I worked my way up in the International Association of Auto Theft Investigators. I became president of that organization years ago. That organization certifies you as different levels of criminal investigation when it comes to motor vehicles. I reached the highest level on that. I'm Burler trained. This is what's important with today's discussion. Burler is a company that trains individuals on how to download infotainment systems. So I've been through that training. I've been through several identifiers course. Basically, identifier is a person that when it comes to a motor vehicle, can basically go through it and be able to identify the parts of it to that VIN number. So it just comes important when you're looking at motor vehicles that have the altered VINs, etc. Oh, I've testified in probably over 80 cases as an expert witness. We were talking earlier, I testified in Arthur Lopez murder. That was a Nassau County cop that got murdered on the Cross Island Parkway. I testify, in numerous homicides. I was the lead investigator that ID'd the Times Square bomber's vehicle. And ID'd the Levy Kluski vehicle with that young boy who was kidnapped and murdered. So, yeah, I've been around a little bit.
Okay, Tom, let's talk about today's testimony. First off, let's back it up a little bit. Ron, you have a diagram of the vehicle. Let's talk about all the various electronic components that can be found in a vehicle that we can gather forensic data from. Ron, do you have that?
I do. Give me a second.
Okay.
Keep talking though.
Okay, so you can start. You can start talking about the different modules that are in the car.
All right. People have to realize that, cars now, newer cars are basically computers on wheels. So these vehicles perform many different functions. You can start your vehicle from outside the vehicle now with your key fob. Someone was telling me there's a trick now that you can do with newer Jeep products where you hit a door lock twice and then you hit it unlock, and the lights will actually start flashing almost like a patrol car. And these devices in the vehicle are controlled by different modules, different computers, basically. Your engine timing, your oxygen fuel ratio, and along with all this other stuff that's these computers monitor, it also records different things. You ever get into a car and you have your cell phone with you, and your infotainment system says, "Would you like to connect to your cell phone?" It's doing it already. It's downloading your information in your cell phone already, and it's recording certain things. In this trial, you saw various people who different analysts of these modules, these circuit boards to retrieve certain information. And depending on the vehicle, you can get a lot of information. We do stuff what's called like geo mapping, because vehicles, what they do is they'll give a navigation route of your vehicle every few seconds, and depending on the vehicle, sometimes it's quicker than others, and you can basically make a map of when the vehicle's running and where it's been based on its geolocation. So it gets pretty complicated. When I was in order crime, I did several of these downloads. The company that I deal with was Burler, and these guys are unbelievable. Their technology, what they can do with these computers, is amazing. And those are the guys that trained NYPD in doing what they do.
Now, I have a late model Toyota Sequoia. All right, so Toyota and Lexus is the same company. It's Toyota. Ron put the information up on the Lexus here, showing the infotainment module, the engine control module, the body control module, the airbag control module, and the telematic module.
Right.
Now, I was just about to say on my car, it comes with a built-in GPS, the infotainment system, all of that is there. Look, Ron, can we leave that back there? And I pulled into a restaurant and parked in the parking lot of the restaurant. And when I got out, now my phone is synced to the car. Okay, right. So it's got everything that's in my phone. I'm sure it has read in the infotainment system, text messages, emails, all these notifications, right? So I get in the car after I'm done eating, and I turn the car on, and a little thing pops up on my infotainment system. How did you like? And it gives me the name of the restaurant.
Hey.
And I'm like, shit. I was like, forget about Big Brother watching me. Toyota's watching me.
Yeah, of course they are. They want to know everything. You know what I mean? BMW has been doing that for years. They never told anybody. And what they do is they say they use this information for customer service. Hey, listen, when are these cars driven? Or, is this a weekend car? Is this something that people are driving this car back and forth from, from work and stuff like that? So there's a lot of information that, manufacturers want from you. My car tells me, oh, you're overdue for an oil change. How do you know I'm overdue for an oil change? You know what I mean? I
got a question, Tom. How accurate is this infotainment system, the engine control module? Like, for someone who doesn't know anything about this, we're talking about, people that just have no clue about this technology, the telematics. How precise? And we heard it in this trial from various different experts, and there was arguments about how accurate it is and how some of it's delayed and some of it's not. Can you just tell, maybe in a condensed version of, how accurate is this and how reliable is the information coming from a 2021 Lexus LX 750, the vehicle in question, Karen Reed's vehicle? How accurate is that going forward with all of these systems?
I think you get this from the trial. The information's accurate. To answer that question right off the bat, the information's accurate. The people who kind of interpret it, that's where you get into a slight problem with it. It's it could, we were talking before when I said, something, I walked into my car before, this afternoon, and I'm looking at the clock on the car, and I'm looking at my cell phone, and it turns to 3:00 on my car, but my phone says 2:59. So within seconds it turns to 3:00. So the information is pretty accurate. It's they talk about triggers, what triggers certain timestamps, etc., and how it could be off, etc. That's basically up to interpretation. But the information's accurate. Is how you kind of look at it.
Yeah.
We always had a saying, and you see this in this trial. The people rushing through this to try to get, the golden egg. You don't get paid to do anything fast. You get paid to do it right. So it's the person who's analyzing this. He's taking his time. He's my big thing is when I used to do these things, I would have people come and I through all my investigations, I would bring it to another detective and say, hey, what do you think? This is what I think. What do you think? And I respect people's opinions, and I capitalize on that. There might be an idea there that something comes out, but the information itself, when it comes to this stuff, it's pretty accurate. It's like your computer. It's right. What the information's gathering, so it's in there. It's just how you take it out. And
gotcha. And it's all up to the person who's interpreting it. That's what I'm gathering from what you're saying. If the person is interpreting it, it makes a mistake in his interpretation, it could be different. Here, somebody sent in a super chat. Sorry, Tommy, to do that to you. It's over your face.
No, that's all right.
I'll move Ed down there. How about that? Michelle sends in a super chat. Thank you for the 10. She says that Lexus infotainment system, a user could override the set time and manually set the time. That user had to pick their time zone for the time to automatically set. Where does the time data come from? Thank you, Michelle. So she wants to know where the time data comes from as it pertains to the Lexus truck.
Well, if you can bring the picture of the car back up again, I'll show you exactly how it works. The telematics module is picking up the time.
Right over there.
All right, and then it's switching it over to the infotainment system so you can see it. So the telematics module is a constant connection with various sites. Some are done automatically, and then like you look at a system like OnStar where it's activated on you also. But you have to remember something. You activated, you asked for directions, or you got into an accident, you got into a flat tire, you need help, a tow job. You're going through the telematics module, but also it's getting information from outside sources also. And that's how
I know this from my car. Toyota has their own satellites in space.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it is communicating with my car, right? And it notifies me when it's time for service and all this other things. And then also it can also tell me, hey, it might be time to rotate your tires, or it may be time to get a wheel alignment, because they're looking at something in the system that is,
they're looking at money. That's what they're looking at.
Well, yeah, they're looking at my at my wallet is what they're looking at. But can you break down those modules for us and tell us what each one of those do?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all,
Tommy, could I ask you to back a little bit away from because when I put you full screen, it looks like you're right in everybody's kitchen. So
yeah, I am in everybody's kitchen. First of all, it's missing a bunch of modules. I think in the trial it came up. The Power Windows have its own module also. So what's interesting with these modules is certain information stored in certain modules. It all depends on the manufacturer year of the vehicle, also and model also. Of course, the more expensive the vehicle, the more modules it will have. But let me go through with a basic form. A telemechanics module is basically your communications to the outside world. There's like OnStar, there's several other ones, but it's a connection. You think of your car as a giant cell phone, and that's always on. So it's getting information. You can transmit information through that module also. Your infotainment module is basically, I think of it as the database, meaning that it controls a lot of the or stores a lot of the information going into the system itself. So once you get in the car, and this is common practice now with most law enforcement, once you get into a car, it's downloading certain parts of your phone depending on the vehicle itself. So you get in your car, your cell phone might be giving your car all its contacts, its pictures, its text messages, and I actually seen it live working where they actually can through the infotainment system and the telemechanics, they actually can turn on your your speaker in your car and listen to you talk if they wanted to. And once again, that would be handy for law enforcement. So the engine control module controls your engine, it controls your idle speed, your RPMs. It would anti-stall. It would check any oxygen level. It basically, it's telling the car how to run and run most efficiently. This is the thing that sets your dashboard lights on. So, if you see one of your dashboard lights, most likely is coming through the engine control module. Airbag module stores a lot of information, but usually the airbag module, what it does, it records an event where the airbag control modules, I call it activated, doesn't really have to have airbag deployment, but it would record something that would be significant in an accident. The module itself usually is located in the car, but it has sensors outside of it to detect, when there's a body damage to it. Body control, once again, it's exactly what it is, some cars have, like my car has air suspension on it, so it would control that. It would control certain features of the vehicle, like the rear tailgate, if you have power tailgates. These are all kind of interconnected to each other, and information is basically shared between each of these modules, and then again also stored in some of these modules. I think in one of the testimonies, they talked about looking at a module and taking off the circuit board to retrieve information. So all these are possible sources or storage of information about your vehicle, whether it's coming location or when it's turned on, etc. And that, once again, is maintained within the system itself.
Tom, is the collision avoidance system associated with the airbag control module?
I don't believe it is. Like I said, I'm not familiar with every single car. What you would kind of think it would be. I think the airbag control module is independent of other factors, and the reason behind that is if something else, say the body control module, is malfunctioning, you don't want it to affect your airbag control. Years ago when airbags were being stolen back in the 1990s, I went to, believe it or not, an airbag school. And basically they said, you have sensors which would record a sudden stop, thinking it's an accident, and that would set off the airbags. So, that's older technology, but it was that module was independent of other modules. But as time went on, you would see it overlapping into, say, the body control module, or even, the infotainment system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now we have all these autonomous cars now, the self-driving and self-parking and all these different things. So, it's basically all computers now. So there are far more computers in the car. It's not very difficult to work on. Like these modern cars, you can't do a lot of the work yourself without having the right electronic equipment. Like my 69 Mustang, I can basically climb in there and do anything I want in the engine compartment, but I can't do anything in my Toyota. That said, quick question about shit. I'm sorry, Ron.
I have a question that I want to ask him, and this is important because it pertains to what happened today in court. Tommy, I had asked you to, I know you have a busy schedule, but I'd asked you to just do a scan of today's testimony. And I wanted to just find out from you is, the argument between the prosecutor, Hank Brennan, and this expert witness, what was your takeaway from, from your professional, expert standpoint? What was your takeaway with a win or a loss here as it pertains to the defense witness as a win, or the prosecutor coming back at him and refuting his evidence? I know the audience wants to hear an expert's take on today's testimony in court, and I want to get your take.
I think it's theatrics, honestly. I think, you put a guy who never testified before, and he didn't do any of this analysis himself. He just looked at computer sheets and made his own judgment with it. And the defense attorney actually was kind of going back and forth with them, kind of like, are you sure with this? Have you ever testified before? He was ripping into the guy. And I said to myself, something, this is a guy that you're calling up as a witness for the defense. I think what he was trying to do, honestly, was to make the jury and make the whole court basically say, something, this case, the computer stuff is a real cluster, and we shouldn't even accept any of this information. It's just that no one can understand it, not even the defense's expert witness on it.
I agree. I felt like they were trying to confuse. He was just trying to make the jury.
Yeah, you're sitting there and you're like, this is a guy that's supposed to be for the defense, and he's like, the attorney's ripping into him like he has no experience at all. Then why didn't you put him on the stand? And then when he heard him say, this is the first time you're testifying.
No, well, it's not the first time, but it's but I hear what you're saying. So he's relatively new, but he was at least honest and more than what the prosecutor put on. Yeah. But I remember what I was the thought that I lost when they download this information. Okay, what hardware and software do you use? Because in this case, it appears that the prosecution team used a Bosch device to download the data.
It's when you talk about different software. So if you have, it's called the IVE kit. That's what Burler produces, and what it is it's a almost like a medical bag. And when you open it up, there's different modules in there that connect to various parts of what you're taking out of the infotainment system or some other module. So you gotta, a lot of these cars are not specific to the car itself, meaning, hey, you have a Bosch computer system, you might have to use a botch software to download that information. So that's what I think they were talking about when they were talking about that. Burla develops his own software to download information. And then you get a little bit more advanced, and you saw it in previous testimony where they're talking about the circuit board and how it was damaged because you have to
take the chips off.
Yeah, it's a chip off. And chip offs are very difficult. You have to understand, this process of retrieving this information actually destroys the information itself. Yeah. So, that's why you have the other guy, did you analyze this yourself? No, I didn't analyze. I just read the reports.
Let's listen to this little piece. This goes over some of the testimony from today. I want to just take a peek at this.
Michael Proctor surfaced.
Matthew Dagra,
an accident reconstruction expert, the first defense witness to take the stand in the murder retrial of Karen Reed.
I am a licensed professional engineer.
Reed has pleaded not guilty to hitting John O'Keefe with her SUV, resulting in his death during a snowstorm. Accident experts for the prosecution compared data from Reed's Lexus and O'Keefe's cell phone to suggest she hit her boyfriend with her vehicle.
The text stream data, does that indicate whether or not there's a collision in the car?
No.
Matthew Dagra says multiple comparisons of data between the vehicle and the cell phone weren't considered, raising questions about the state's conclusion regarding an alleged collision.
The most valid approach is look at all of them as a whole and then draw the conclusion from the totality of that data rather than cherry picking a single point.
Do you mention somebody's nickname?
Yes.
And
what did you think of that, guys? I think that made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like the fact that, he's looking at the totality of the circumstances because, again, we talked about the confirmation bias of the previous prosecution team. They cherry picked the points that worked for the prosecution. Okay, where the event occurred after John O'Keefe's phone was manually locked.
Right. I want to go. We passed the 45-minute mark. Obviously, we had a little bit of a snafu with Tommy. So
yeah, I apologize.
No, it's not your fault. It happens. Things like this happen. It happens to me too. I want to try to get these super chats so I'm not blocking the guest. So I'll block myself up. Lisa Norris sends in $5 and she says, I'm living proof that when you get hit by a car, several bones break. I was only 7 and the car was moving forward at 35 miles per hour. Apparently she broke some bones. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm glad that you're here today to talk about it. Because some people,
amen. Stay healthy.
Car at 35 miles an hour, sometimes it doesn't end well.
You don't walk away.
Yeah. Tommy Fuch, thank you so much. Futch, thank you for the 5. You noticed the expert had no trouble remembering his CV. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Schmitty Smacks is in the chat and she says, seriously, what if this comes back as guilty? And she's saying, what if Karen Reed, the second jury, finds her guilty? Well, Ed, you talked about it last night. I'll give you the floor for that.
There's a lot of reversible error committed by lifeguard Bev. I think this is definitely something on appeal that could be overturned if God forbid that happens. It's a shame that we're here, but this is the cards we've been dealt.
Absolutely, and I honestly, I don't see a second set of a trial. This is her retrial. This trial has a different tone to it, and there's different witnesses, and we're not done yet. So I do believe this jury is younger and they're paying attention, and I think that they will come in with a fair and just verdict, and that would be not guilty. Tiffany, thank you for the 5. She says, I like that this expert could testify without Googling his answers on his laptop or his smartwatch.
Bam, 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 bam. Great for you, Tiffany, because that's why I wanted to see his computer. Yeah. I wanted to see what he was doing. Tom, you didn't see this yesterday, but Dr. Welcher, the PhD from Aperture, had his laptop and his smartphone and his smartwatch on, and he was actually
editing
on his computer
while he's testifying. And why would a judge even allow that?
No, I've never seen that either. But that's a first for me. But he could have been Googling answers for all we know.
Yeah.
And the one time he had to use a calculator to do a simple mathematical equation, it took him forever to do.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. DK, $5 super chat. She says, Kelly Dever walked in the Sally Port when Proctor was dismantling the taillight. Well, look,
that's going to be big.
Yeah, we appreciate the
if that's true.
We appreciate that info, and if that is in fact true, which I hope it is, we'll hear about it on Monday. It's going to be a long weekend, folks. Tony, thank you for becoming a member. Alyssa, thank you for the $1.99 super sticker. Tiffany, thank you for becoming a member. Just Say No to Sideswipe volunteering. Free Karen Reed. Thank you for the $5. Dover took over dispatch after Goad took 911 call and went to the scene. He was able to clarify that data for the jury. Breath of fresh air. So the expert, DeSogra, was able to clarify for the jury that information. So thank you for sharing that with us. Kathy, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. That's very kind and generous.
Thank you, Kathy.
Teddy 617, that's the area code in Massachusetts, right? 617. Guys, your coverage of this case, and thank you for the 50. That's very kind and generous. Your coverage of this case has been a breath of fresh air. New York and Boston are a cut from the same cloth, boys. Just different accents. A side bar, let's go to the bar.
We understand phonics.
When is Olivia Lambeau from X coming on? That combo would be what we need right now. I don't even know who she is. Maybe I should know who she is. So I'm going to check it out. Thank you, Teddy 617, for that super chat and that recommendation. Glamasuz, thank you for the 5. She says, WBZ is very anti-Karen Reed. They're legal. Listen, we like to play we don't like to play favorites here. So that's why we play a whole host of different stuff. It's not about anti-Karen Reed. We want to play the content, what people are reporting on.
But to be fair to us, when a reporter says something off the wall, we call them out.
We do. Their legal analysis represents Brian Albert and AJ expose one of their former anchors, deleting exculpatory evidence. Yeah, look.
It's funny. I see in the chat that somebody's talking about the New York and Boston accents. There was a study done, and apparently people over in Europe think the Boston accent makes them sound more intelligent.
Yeah. All right. I see something, and I don't even know where it's probably gone, but Florida Buckeyes says, did you guys as NYPD police officers see any corruption in planting evidence when you worked for the department? I could say no, hands down to that, and I did 20. Tommy did 39. He's shaking his head no. Ed?
I was in crime scene. There was no planting evidence in my crime scenes.
Let me ask you gentlemen this. If you were on a scene and you saw something like that happening, I got to sleep at night, and I got to, I have my reputation on the line. If I turn my head and say I didn't see that or didn't take action, didn't call that into IAB, you would just be as bad as these other people doing this stuff. So I'm thankful that we never saw that, but I'm sure that it exists. I'm sure it exists. Nothing is perfect. But
it's happened. Michael Dowd and the 7/7 scandal. The 3/3 scandal.
Corruption is out there. Vicky, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Jules, thank you for the $2 Aussie, I believe that is Australian. He's currently defaming her on Facebook as anonymous. I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going on. Liz, thank you for being here. Liz Gaspari Nutrition sends in 5, and she says, let's love bomb DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Super chats tonight. Motivation Nation. Thank you, Liz. Much appreciated. C-Main Soho, thank you for the 10 super sticker. Appreciate you. Barb RN, she says, first, I love you. Second, why hasn't the FBI stepped in and stopped this circus? Third, do you think the FBI will step in if they find her guilty? Thank you so very much. Now, that's a super chat with politeness. Not saying anybody is disrespectful with super chats, but she said, thank you very much.
They can't step in at this moment in time in the trial. because they would have so many different ramifications for what's going on. Can they come afterwards? They can't. If she gets convicted, they can't like reverse the conviction. Okay, that will have to go through the appeals process. And the FBI, if they had evidence that would exonerate her, they should have produced it already to the court. Okay, but afterwards, you know, they're still watching, and I'm praying that they're going to reopen their investigation, or, you know, we don't know for sure that they ever closed their investigation. What the grand jury, though, that they had, that has closed.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you close your case. You just close the grand jury. You could still be investigating and then impanel a new grand jury for the case.
There you go. We're almost at the end of these super chats. Teddy617 coming in again with a 10. He says, Tommy, Karen had 13 calls on the drive from Fairview to Meadows. That's 34 Fairview is the crime scene where police officer John O'Keefe was murdered and found dead on the front lawn. And then the drive back to Meadows is where she was staying or living. She was living in multiple. She had her own place, and she was staying with police officer John O'Keefe, the decedent. So she said Karen had 13 calls on the drive from Fairview to Meadows, 12:33 to 22:42. Burgess ignored them all. Those are the closest items to sync John O'Keefe's phone and the Lexus. What the fuck?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
one of the things that I questioned was, you know, they show the geo mapping of how her car came up and then did a turn and came back.
Right.
You know, it would be basic information in a computer module of the vehicle's RPMs. So that's one of the things in accident recreations is you have a drop in the RPMs because you hit something. And, you know, no one brought that up. That's, you know, that's basic computer downloading.
There was no mention about RPMs.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything about that? RPMs?
I mean, the RPMs are listed in the data.
Yeah.
They have that. But also this car has a limited slip differential. It has, you know, all these different safety features in it, and it's snowing. And, you know, they talk about that, you know, she depressed the accelerator to 30% of, you know, and it caused a triggering event as she was reversing in her 3-point turn. All this information they said that was found in these modules.
Right.
Ed, you gave me Marissa Tomei vibes when she talked about the limited slip differential. You know, if you put on the gas, one wheel spins, the other one does nothing.
Anybody who's ever been stuck in the mud in Alabama
knows my biological clock is ticking. All right.
I can't help you with that.
Char M, thank you for the $2. She says to Tommy, is there a module for the door opens and door closes? I think you have a
trigger event. You have a trigger event.
Okay. M5, and thank you for that super chat, Char M. Thank you. M5, thank you for the 199 super sticker. Brenda, thank you for becoming a member. Texas RN, thank you for the 199 super chat. Do car backup cameras record? I know they do in a Tesla, but Tommy, why are you laughing at that?
You know, you talk to a manufacturer, you're going to say no, but I believe that it does record. Like a certain amount of information records. Like you said, it's like any other computer. It would write over information. So it's not, you know, you don't have everything in the vehicle all the time.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance, yeah. You know, you look at Tesla. Tesla, you know, everything's recorded on a Tesla.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Tommy sounds like that guy. I cannot confirm or deny.
It sounds like that the backup camera does record, but as he said, it would override if it was backed up multiple times. It's not going to have an unlimited, you know, recording. I mean, I have a 2 terabyte in my car for to store data, like for my dash cam. I know that some of the trucks, the Range Rovers, they have like the Teslas have the cameras where, you know, they record the outside of the car and so forth. Anyways, let's get back to it. Emily, thank you for gifting a membership. That is very kind. I have to gift some memberships before the night is over. Monique, thank you so much for being a member over 27 months. She says, what if she is found guilty? Another trial?
No, appeals.
I mean, not guilty. Not guilty, she said.
Oh,
what
if she's found not guilty, done.
Yeah.
It's over. You can't retry it, be double jeopardy, which I already think this is double jeopardy, but the courts have ruled against her in that.
Josh H, thank you for the 5. The thing that bothers me is that the state can change their theory of the case after a mistrial without presenting that theory to the grand jury. Yeah.
Right. So it's a whole new theory. All right. And the previous grand jury, we know from testimony in this case, one of the main witnesses perjured herself.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Jen, thank you for the 5. We, the people, need to keep our Constitution in the forefront. Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. We're all look, all of us here are former law enforcement, but we're civilians just like you. We're no longer law enforcement. We did the job. Now we're retired. It's, that is a valid thing. We need to uphold the Constitution. Rosemary J, thank you for the 20. Very generous. She says prosecution equals garbage in, garbage out.
Amen. I preach that all the time.
Ed says it all the time, and I know, Tommy, you understand that concept as well. Norma, thank you for the 5. She says if the 1162 was at FW and 1163 was at 5 a.m., 1164 would be the ride to Dighton. 1165 and 1166 would be the tow driver. How could Trooper Paul have tested at 1164?
There's a lot of problems with those key cycles.
Yeah, it's in the first trial that they're referring back to. Thank you for that. Thunder Horse, thank you for the 5. She says, DutyRon, talk to Melanie Little about what happened today. What happened?
All right. Some guy, keyboard warrior there jumped on there and called her the C word.
In her chat?
Yeah.
She's got mods. They probably took care of it, no?
Right, but that's not the point. I think he also might have sent her
I'll call her tomorrow.
An email.
I'll call her tomorrow. Thank you, Thunder Horse, for that. I know you're a moderator. Thunder Horse is a moderator over there, Thunder Horse. I will text Melanie actually tonight when I'm done here. Michael, the mayor of Whoville, Morrissey, thank you for the 5. Hey, guys, thanks for all you do. FYI, 2 separate federal indictments in Massachusetts this week. I did see that.
Yeah, one sheriff, and what was the other one?
Some other jagaloon. Oh, TG, thank you for the 50.
Wow.
Very, very generous. We appreciate it. What do you think of civil suits being paid out of police pension funds instead of taxpayers' funds? This might get active officers to call out issues early. Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. Charlie Munger. I don't think that they're legally able to do that, take police pension funds to pay out these civil suits. It would be all kinds of legal issues with that. It's a good concept, but I don't think legally, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think legally they'd be able to do that.
I just say take the indemnification away.
Yeah, remove the indemnification.
Yeah, why punish us, the good guys, with our pension money?
Right. I'm actually taking, and this has nothing to do. I'm taking the sign over my face because I look tired, so that's why I'm doing that. All right, Brian J, thank you for the 5. I'm just kidding. I keep bringing it up. I know I'll get a lot of shit. I'll get a lot of shit for that. People will be like, "DutyRon."
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
Thank you, Cameron.
Ron, amphetamine.
Yeah, your pile. Hold on a second.
Stop breathing down my neck.
All right, Brian J, $5. How many McAlberts can be charged as accomplices or accessories? Accessory? Question mark. When Karen is hopefully found not guilty. I mean, that remains to be seen because that would involve a lot of different things happening, and it doesn't seem like Dighton and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office is on board with doing anything the right way. So it would take them to do it, no?
Yeah, well, whoever lied in grand jury, whoever lied in interviews, whoever obstructed, if they can prove any of this, because right now there's nothing.
Yeah, Donnie, thank you for the $10. She's a former Canton police officer. Her first name is Kelly. I didn't catch her last name, but her first name is Kelly, and she's coming back in on Monday. So tune in on Monday. It should be a doozy. And then we're going to take questions for Tommy, and then we'll wrap it up. Sandy, Popeye.
Popeye.
Sandy says justice for Enrique Garcia Delgado. That's the trooper that was in the academy that died, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that that's the reference there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. Frankie, Frankie, thanks for the buck. I appreciate it. That's all of it. Let's go to the regular chat. Hashtag Ed, hashtag Tommy. Don't ask me questions because I'm tired.
Maybe it'll wake you up.
Let me go full screen and show everybody how tired I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a big bag.
So let me show you.
Whoa, that's a muscle car.
No computer in there.
No.
No tracking me.
Hell no. Hell no. You still have that thing?
Yeah.
Tommy's
It's right downstairs.
He's got a Jay Leno garage. Tommy, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for a photo now of this.
You're done. You met your match, pal. I know about Tommy.
Oh, he's gonna one up me. 69 Mustang, 302 Boss.
No, I can't fit in the Mustang. It's too tight for me.
And BB2, thank you for the 10. Tommy, a lot of rumors going around, but it is true that the 2021 Lexus can only go in reverse at top speed, 15 to 21 miles per hour. Thank you. Pre-Ken and Reed, just John O'Keefe. Is it true that the Lexus 2021 can only go in reverse at the governor on it? It stops it at 15 to 21 miles per hour? Don't answer it if you don't know it.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I did a Google search on that, and it says no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that would be something the manufacturer would do.
Currently pursuing my law degree, Mama She 13. We know who she is. She's always here and always supporting and is a channel member.
Thank you, girl.
Thank you for the 10. Love you, DutyRon and friends. Thank you. Future says you look just as handsome as ever, DutyRon. Thank you. I got a message from Sloothy Goosey on social media. She sent me a DM and she was like, I didn't know that you were sick. So she was sending me, I'm not sick. I have lymphoma, guys. So it's blood cancer. You never get rid of it. It's always there. So every little ache and pain that I get, and I had some back issues recently, and I got my first epidural of my life. Every little ache and pain I get, I'm worried that it's got to do with the cancer. So that's what this is about. Can I still hear somebody says crispy treat? Can I still put a tracker on you, Ed?
Yeah, you could if you could find my car, but remember that shovel.
Yeah, he's got a shovel, and he's got a wife and who's a retired detective, first grade.
Everybody in my house has a gun, including the dog.
Ed's got a gun, and I wouldn't doubt his dad's got a gun, and his mom probably too, and they're there.
Tara does too.
Yeah, the dog has a gun too. There's a lot of pistols in Ed's house. Black Rose 11, thank you. Schmitty, look at Schmitty. I don't know what's happening with her. She says I'm blocked again. How is she blocked? We see you. Schmitty, we love you. Elise,
right, you ready for this?
All right, hit me with it.
Wait. Whoa.
What, is it an SS? I can't.
Yeah, it's a Chevelle SS.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Another John Wick car. Remember, John Wick didn't kill for a Camaro.
Yeah.
I had a 73 Camaro with the racing stripe down the hood. It was a candy apple red with the black racing stripe down the hood with the wing on the back. 73 Camaro. It was a great car. It was a great car until the ball joint snapped while I was driving it down Hillside Avenue in Queens. I had a hell of a time getting that thing home because getting a tow truck back in the 80s was really tough. So here's another super chat coming in from Mama She 13. DutyRon, my new name is a joke. Reed Shannonberger's goals. We got you. We got the reference. Thank you, though. Thank you so much for the super chat again. Yarn Bar, remember, look, Ed's trying to show you back up. Tommy,
No. Got nothing to do with cars.
Hold on.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I like it.
My dog's my spotter.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow. Very nice. Yarn Bar, thank you for being a member. Yarn Bar for 34 months. I love and admire your integrity. Well, I know she's meaning that to all of us, so thank you for that. All right. I didn't see many questions in the chat, and I've been looking for them. Ed, could you scan it while I look for a picture of my car?
Okay, I'm looking. Okay. A lot of car things. Yeah. My daughter's almost finished with college. Okay, great. Love dogs. Yes, gotta love dogs.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
My rat's around here someplace.
Uh-huh. They're the best. Unconditional love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I always loved the Chevelles too. Especially, like I had the best of both worlds in the John Wick series, right? Because he was driving the Camaro. I mean, not the Camaro, the Chevelle and the Mustang.
Mustang, yeah.
Here's my 86 Corvette, and I'll find the 73 Camaro in a minute.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I saw that car in Some Kind of Wonderful.
Easy, Wallace. Easy. Hold on, I got something for you, Ed.
Pardon my French, but you're not. Pardon my French. What's your name, scumbag?
Oh, R. Lee. Yes,
Wait.
Sergeant.
Here's a great one that I haven't used in a long time.
Best
My
car.
mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
That's right. My name is Forrest Gump.
Here's a good one. I played this by mistake when Grady Judd was given a press conference, a very, very serious press conference. This button I pressed by mistake.
Why don't you put your thumb up your butt?
Hey, now.
That was not good. Everybody likes to see Ed dance.
What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do when they come for you?
Wait a minute.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Sometimes there's just not enough rocks.
We just, I just wanted to get a little bit of humor in there because this week was stressful for all of us following this Karen Reed retrial, and I think it's always good to get a little humor in with these buttons. And I got so many of them. I got.
Blow it out your ass. Blow it out your ass.
Can anybody identify who that is saying that?
Blow it out your ass. Blow it out your ass. Blow it out your ass.
George Carlin.
All right.
Well, wait. I promised everybody some membership, so let me do that. Ed, I know you want to run, and everybody wants to go. Tommy, thank
You know what I think? I think you should go home to Greenbow, Alabama.
Thank you.
Hey, Ed, Ron, I want to throw something out there. One of the things that people should take away from this trial is how how much information your vehicle takes from you. You mean, your cell phone and stuff. You can actually buy an adapter that you can plug into your car when you're charging it that will prevent it from being downloaded, copied. And you can find them on, I'm not going to recommend the product, but you can find them on, eBay for like $2.
Yeah.
All is a simple device you plug in. It interrupts the connection, and you can still charge your phone.
There you go. Tommy's giving out some secret squirrel information.
Secret squirrel stuff for you.
Here's the thing. If you have an infotainment system, don't put your Bluetooth on and don't connect to it.
Yeah.
Especially if you rent a car, don't connect to the infotainment system. That car gets used for a crime scene or to commit a crime, because as Tommy's Ted, what was the figure? 75%? What was that?
75% of all crimes occur with a motor vehicle.
There you go.
That's another thing too, folks. I do a lot of traveling around the country for Homeland Security and Louisiana State University. And we get rental cars all the time. I never sync to a rental car, and I never plug in via USB to a rental car.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Don't ever do that.
Yep.
Hey, Will 411, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you for gifting another 5. That's 10. Thank you. Everybody should go over and check out 411 now. Covers a lot of great stuff with all the info. When he covers trials, when he covers cases, it's all info. Thank you, Danielle, for the $1.99. My ex-Marine husband won't let me have a gun.
Don't tell him.
I don't. Oh, Smitty Smack says I have to send another super chat. Check by snail mail. Check by snail mail. All right, Summer Wind. Thank you for the 2. There's these.
Summer wind came blowing in from across the sea.
We're running out of time. Just say no to Sideswipe Volunteer. That we'll save this for another show. But thank you for the super chat. Can you tell us about your most rewarding investigation and where you got the bad guys? I have a story, many stories. Ed's got some, and I'm sure Tommy's got a ton of them as well. Thomas Futch, thank you for the 5. Sometimes we just need a good laugh. Amen, brother or sister. I don't know. Sometimes people use their wives or their husbands' accounts, and you never know. Suthi Goosey says, "Oh, Ed, you know I love some Frank." She loves some Frankie, and she likes to hear you sing, Ed. So
Who doesn't love Frank Sinatra?
let's do the next thing.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
All right, guys and girls. As we always say, this is about police officer John O'Keefe and getting justice for him. This trial has been exhausting, and we know the Commonwealth, Massachusetts, has spent millions of dollars on the on trial 1 and trial 2. We don't even know what the number is, but we know that Aperture got almost $400,000, and those are just 2 witnesses from that company. That's almost 400 G's in trial number 2. How much did they spend on trial number 1, and what do they spend in total with all of their witnesses for this trial? Unbelievable, astronomical amount of money spent. And that's not even including the car. I'm not figuring the car in there. They purchased the 2021 Lexus to do his bullshit experiments. Excuse my language. I know this is a family channel. So I want to thank the moderators, the replay viewers, the super chatters, the folks who are newly subscribed. Ed, as you and I always say, we value our live audience. There was over 5,000 people watching us live. We don't take that for granted. Any audience, small, big, or anything in between, we really value the time that you take to watch us. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being here. These are, these are difficult topics to speak about, but we bring you the guests to, in these expert fields to talk. Ed, I know you have something to say.
Yeah, folks, thank you again for sharing your time with us. I know your time is valuable, and we do appreciate that. You just spent close to an hour and a half with us on the show, or a little over an hour and a half. And we appreciate that and your support and spreading the word about us and being with us here every night. Every night we had a show this week. So, we're going to take a break this weekend, I think, and get some R&R. But we really do appreciate you. And I always say at the end of the show, folks, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six. It's all about the victims here at DutyRon and Ed Wallace. And we support the victims and their families.
Thank you, Ed. Tommy, any final words for the audience? I know you gave some valuable advice prior, but
just be safe out there and enjoy life.
Yeah, absolutely. After 39 years in the NYPD, I'm glad that you are now kicking back a little bit, even though you've got a busy schedule.
Yeah, I'm still hustling.
Always great to have you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace and our special guest, Tommy Burke, good night from New York and various other locations. We'll see you soon. Peace.